Thank you for joining me for a yoga class that targets tight hips and lower back pain. My name is Holly. My pronouns are she, her. This is a floor-based class. So we'll be on the floor for class. You don't need any fancy yoga props or prior yoga experience. You will want either a carpeted area or a yoga mat if you have one. And then grab some pillows of different shapes and sizes from around your home. It doesn't need to be like a fancy yoga bolster or anything, but you'll want a couple of pillows of different sizes as well. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. You are welcome to sit in Sukhasana, easy pose with one foot in front of the other, or you can sit crisscross applesauce if that is more pleasant to you. You can take a moment to rock back and forth, side to side, feel your sitting bones on the floor, roll your shoulders forward, backward, and relax your shoulders, lift your chest and take a nice breath in through your nose. Anything you'd like to let go of, let it go, exhale it out. For the next hour, just give yourself permission to set aside anything on your to-do list, any worries or cares. I often find when I put things aside for a while, I come back with renewed energy and compassion. So if you ever struggle with like the guilt of just turning off your phone and turning off the news and taking some time for yourself, set that aside as well and just enjoy your own company. We're going to start with a relaxing breathing exercise called 4-7-8 breathing. You'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for 7, and then slowly exhale through your mouth through puckered lips for a count of 8. So the idea is you inhale fairly fast, hold all of that fresh oxygen in your brain, and then slowly exhale through your mouth, which helps to soothe the central nervous system. It can take a few rounds of 4-7-8 breathing to figure out how fast to inhale versus exhale. If after a few breaths or a few rounds of breathing, you're still having trouble with it, you can keep the ratio, but cut it. So you'll like inhale for a count of 2, hold for 3.5, and then slowly exhale for 4. Okay, sitting up nice and tall, you're welcome to close your eyes or do a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. Seal your lips, relax your jaw. Place your tongue at the roof of your mouth just behind your teeth. Exhale completely, empty your lungs. And begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the inhale breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth for through puckered lips for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale through nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through mouth. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4. Pause for 7. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. You can count in your own mind. Pause for 7. Keep your shoulders and jaw relaxed. Exhale for 8. We'll do 3 more minutes of 4-7-8 breathing. If mind is wandering, return to the 4-7-8 breath. You can center your thoughts on the count. We'll do one more round of 4-7-8 breathing. Whenever you're ready, just returning your breath to normal in and out through your nose. Throughout class, remember that there is no correct way or no one correct way to experience a breathing exercise or a yoga posture or any part of class. So, and not usually, many people find 4-7-8 breathing to be relaxing, right? It soothes the central nervous system, but that's not true for everyone. And that doesn't, if you don't find 4-7-8 breathing relaxing, that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It just might mean that it's not for you. In yoga, take what works for you and leave the rest. If at any point in class, something that I'm suggesting does not feel right for your body, you are welcome to do something else. You can take a break. You can simply lie down and breathe. I do find sometimes when I practice both breathing exercises like 4-7-8 and postures, which we'll get to in just a moment, there might be a moment of initial discomfort or boredom. And then once I get beyond that and settle into the breath or the posture, then things start to open up and my mind calms down a little bit. So in class, we're never going to go to a point of pain or do something that we know is not right for our body, but it can be helpful to be curious about what might lie on the other side of that, initial discomfort or confusion. If your eyes are closed, you're going to open your eyes looking forward. Lift your chest slightly, roll your shoulders back and down your spine. We're just going to start by getting some subtle motion in our upper body. Take an inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead, big stretch up. Exhale, pull your hands through heart center, shoulders soft. Great. Take your hands out on either sides of your hips. Keep your right hand on the floor. Note that I'm not mirroring you. Reach your left arm long overhead, stretching the left side body. Good. Take a breath here. Got it. All right. And then come back to center, float your left arm down. Let's do the other side. Reach your right arm long overhead, lengthen the arm, drop the shoulder. Try to root down through your right sit bone so you're not leaning too far to the left. Good. And then come back to center, float your right hand down. Keep your left knee bent. You're going to kick your right leg out so your legs make a 45-degree angle. We're going to do a very passive version of head to knee pose. Take an inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, turn to your right, round your spine, bring your forehead towards your knee. You can have your hands on the floor on either sides of your thighs, your knees, your calf.
You do not need to touch your forehead to your knee here. It's just about subtly starting to open through the spine. Relax your shoulders down away from your ears. And we'll hold here for 3 breaths. Slow inhale. Slow exhale. If you'd like, you can try flexing your right toes back slightly to stretch the calf. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep the shoulders out of the ears. Inhale. And on your last exhale, if you'd like, you can bring your forehead a little closer to your knee. Good. On your next inhale, sweep your arms up, coming back to center. Exhale, arms down. Let's do the other side. Kick your left leg out, right leg in. Breathing in, reach your arms up. Breathing out, turn to your left, round your spine. Shoulders out of the ears, jaw relaxed, never force your body. If rounding your spine does not feel good to the lower back, think about lifting your chin and chest so you're still folding forward slightly, but you're not putting too much pressure on the lower back. Again, you can flex your left toes back towards your face if that helps to stretch the calf. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. And on this last exhale, if you'd like, you can fold forward, bringing your forehead closer to knee. Good. Inhale, sweep your arms up, coming back to center. Nice. Exhale, float your arms down. Beautiful. You're going to bend both knees so that your feet are on the floor. I'm going to show you from the side for a moment. You can get a nice wrist stretch here by having your hands behind you. You can have your fingers pointing towards you, fingers pointing away from each other, or fingers pointing away from your body. Whatever feels good for your wrists. And from here, you're going to windshield wiper your knees right and left, back and forth. Keep your shoulders out of your ears. Chin away from the chest. Good. Just getting some gentle motion in the hips. Great. And then come back to center. You can walk your hands in closer towards you. Take your arms out to the side. And then you're going to give yourself a hug. You can either grab your shins from the outside, or if it feels better, grab your thighs from underneath. Relax your head. And we'll take 3 slow breaths here. Again, not forcing the body. This is a passive stretch. Inhale. Slow exhale. On your next inhale breath, lift your chin and chest, take your arms out to the side again. Beautiful. Exhale, hands back behind you, and we're going to windshield wiper the knees again. Just getting some gentle motion in the hips at the beginning of class. Great. Coming back to center, walk your hands in towards yourself again. This time you're going to start to open your knees and bring the soles of your feet close together for a butterfly pose. If you'd like, you can place your hands on your feet and give yourself a little foot massage. And in your butterfly pose, think of your legs like wings. And if you'd like, you can flap your wings. Again, just getting some gentle motion in the hips. This is intended to be a gentle class. You don't need to push yourself very hard to receive the benefits. Okay. And once you've flapped your wings a little bit, you can just let your knees drop. Notice if you're rounding your spine, think about lifting your chin and chest as you fold forward slightly. Inhale. Exhale. About sending a nice slow breath into your hips. As you exhale, relax the hips. Good. Lift yourself back up to an upright position. With or without the use of your hands, you can bring your knees, feet back together. And we're going to come onto all fours in tabletop position. If you have tight knees, toes, or ankles, you can roll up your yoga mat so there's extra padding under those joints. And if you don't have a yoga mat, you might just grab like a thin towel or blanket. and put it under any delicate joints. And then you have a little extra padding. Not everyone needs it, but I kind of like it. Okay. From here, coming into tabletop, back flat like a table, hands about shoulder width distance, wrists under shoulders, knees and feet hip width distance, knees under hips. We're going to cat cow. Breathe in. And on your exhale, pull your abdomen in, round your spine like a cat meow. So push the floor away from you, draw your belly button up towards the ceiling. On your next inhale, cow pose, moo, drop your abdomen down, stick your butt up, roll your shoulders back and down, look up towards the ceiling. Good. Exhale into your cat pose, slide your shoulder blade scapula apart, press down through your knuckles so that you're not putting all of your body weight on your wrists. Inhale, cow pose. Keep the shoulders out of the ears as you squeeze shoulder blade scapula together. Lift your nose, lift your chin, lift your tailbone. Exhale, cat pose. Compression to the abdominal wall, extension to the spine. Think about bringing your hips to your ribs, ribs to hips, belly button to spine. Inhale, cow pose, extension to the front of the body, compression to the spine, squeeze shoulder blade scapula together as you look up. Good. Exhale into a neutral spine position. You have an option to stay in tabletop and take another cat cow, or you can tuck your toes under and lift your hips up for a down dog, only holding here for a breath. Lift your hips towards the ceiling, press your heels down, stretching out the lower back, spread your fingers wide, press your knuckles down, inhale. Exhale. Look forward, bend your knees, come back onto your knees, back into tabletop. From here, identify right and left. Keep your left knee bent. You're gonna take your right foot forward, put your right foot in between your hands. And from here, start to slide your left knee back. And if you need to adjust where the padding is on your mat or where your towel is under your mat, you're welcome to do so. It's a nice runner's lunge here. We're opening up the hip. You can keep your hands on the floor. You can also tent your fingers lifting up, or even work on your balance, interlace your fingers, put your hand on your right thigh, move your left hip forward, right hip back, square off the hips. Take a breath. Good. Bring your hands back to the floor if you were lifted. Now move your hips back towards your back heel, straighten your front leg, flex your toes back. And again, you can round your spine, drawing your forehead toward your knee, or you can almost arch your spine so your chin and chest stay lifted, shoulders out of the ears. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Lift your hips, move your hips back over your knees. Now take your right knee back, right knee to the floor. Good. You can stay here and do a cat cow. You can also do another down dog. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up. Press your heels down. Think about making a V shape with your body. Chin slightly to chest. Look for your thighs behind you. Good. And then look forward, bend your knees, knees on the floor, back into tabletop. Beautiful. And we'll do the other side of our runner's lunge. Take your left foot in front of you, hands on either side of your left foot. And then from here, start to slide your right leg back. Good. A little bit goes a long way. You can keep your hands on the floor, can lift up, tent your fingers, can even lift up, and maybe hands to knee on the side, right hip forward, left hip back. Relax your shoulders, lift your chest, take a breath. Good. Set your hands back down on the floor. Move your hips back towards your right heel. Straighten your front leg. Flex your left toes back to your face. Again, you can round your spine or arch your spine. Keep your neck long, shoulders out of the ears. Wonderful. Look forward. Bring your left foot back to the floor. You're going to slide your left knee back. So back into your tabletop position. And from here, if your mat was folded in any way, you're going to straighten your mat and come down onto your abdomen for Sphinx pose. So for Sphinx pose, you can have your feet the width of your mat or a little bit wider than your hips. And then from here, you're going to bend your elbows so that your forearms are on the floor. You can keep your elbows directly under your shoulders, which is a pretty deep back bend,
or you can walk your hands forward so your elbows are in front of the shoulders. This is healing compression to the lower spine. Keep your shoulders out of your ears, neck long, chin away from your chest, look forward. So especially in our culture, we tend to hunch forward a lot. And nowadays with our cell phones, that's even more so, right? A lot of people spend their day kind of like with their head slightly drooped looking towards their cell phone. So back bends like this can sometimes feel unfamiliar or even at times uncomfortable, but they're really good for our back, for back health. Of course, if you have like a serious back injury or hip injury, I always encourage you to consult a medical professional about that, right? Yoga teachers are not medical professionals, but in general, most physical therapists and doctors are going to tell you that back bends heal the spine, right? Forward fold, sometimes you might want to take it easy if you have a history of slip discs, but back bends really good for healing the spine, getting you out of back pain. Keep your shoulders out of your ears. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. Beautiful. As you're ready, you're going to take your elbows out and your hands in. You can either rest your forehead on the floor, or you can look to one side, bringing one ear to the floor. Send deep belly breaths in and out through your nose to massage the front of your body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. From here, we're going to move into half frog. You are welcome to keep your forehead on the floor or look to one side. And then from here, you're going to bend your left knee out to the left so that eventually your left knee and left hip might be in line, left ankle and left knee in line, left toes can relax out. So from a bird's eye view, your left leg might make a 90-degree angle. This might be intense for some people. You are welcome to have your leg at less acute of an angle, so your knee is lower than your hip. You can also grab a pillow and put it under your left hip if that helps to have the hip have a little bit more support. So frog pose is when you do both legs at once, and I have fairly open hips and I find frog pose like kind of unpleasant. So I'm a big believer in half frog pose. You just do one hip at a time and you still work through the hip. And it's a passive stretch. You're not like forcing your body in this posture. Just think about letting the hip relax down. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. Very slowly straighten your left leg back. Your forehead is on the floor. You can keep your forehead on the floor. If you're looking to one side, you're going to lift your head and look to the other side. And then we'll do our other side of half frog. Bend your right knee out to the right. So maybe knee and hip in line, maybe not, doesn't matter. Make sure right ankle and right knee in line, right toes can relax out to the right. Soften through your chest and shoulders. Again, if you'd like to place a small pillow or blanket under your right hip or anywhere else that could use a little extra support, please do so. We'll take a few slow breaths here. Slowly straighten your right leg back underneath you. If you're looking to one side, gently lift your head Chin on your mat. You're going to slide your palms underneath you for a version of cobra pose. Have your feet about hip width distance, feet on the floor. Spread your fingers wide, press your knuckles down, fingertips below the shoulders. Squeeze your glutes, look up and lift your chest up. There's a lot of activation in the upper spine here. Squeeze shoulder blades, scapula together. If you practice 26 and 2 yoga with me, I know it might sound like blasphemy to have your feet apart in this posture, but it's always fun to try different asanas different ways. As a reminder, there's like a bajillion different versions of, for example, cobra pose or bow pulling pose. And so it's fun to experiment with different ones. We'll take a slow breath here. Inhale, exhale. From here, push your hands into the floor. You're going to lift your hips up. We're going to go into a wide-legged child's pose. Bring your feet together, knees apart. Again, if you have tight knees, toes, or ankles, you can roll up your mat and or place a small pillow or blanket under any delicate joints. And from here, walk your hands forward. You are welcome to have a pillow under your chest or abdomen. For folks whose hips do not sink down to the heels, which is very common, you are also welcome to place pillows or blankets in between your calves and thighs so that there's a little bit more support there. Now reach your arms forward and we'll hold here for a minute. As you inhale, feel your ribs expand. As you exhale, feel your ribs contract. Sometimes when my back is tight, I'll even hear like a pop in this posture, and that's just a shifting in synovial fluid, the gaseous liquid between our joints. It's not a bad thing. It's almost like a chiropractic adjustment happening, but you're doing it to yourself in a yoga class. As you inhale, reach your arms forward, and as you exhale, sink your hips back. From here, slowly slide your arms behind you so your palms face up. So this is wide-legged child's pose, but the arms are down rather than forward, just giving your shoulders a break. And if you need to, again, grab a pillow for under your chest or head for support, please do so. And then we'll hold here for a minute. Posture works deep into the hips while lengthening the lower back. In a class called like yoga for tight hips and lower back pain, like this is one of the core postures here. We'll take 3 more slow breaths in our child's pose. Slowly bring your hands in underneath your shoulders. You can press yourself up with a flat back or roll yourself up if that feels good, up to you. Coming up into a seated position. And if you'd like, you can place your hands at your lower back and do another little back bend here, looking up and back. Bring your spine back into a neutral position. You're going to remove any pillows or blankets that you have from underneath you. If your mat is rolled up like mine is, you can unroll your mat and then turn, lie on your back in Savasana. So this is our first time in Savasana.
Lying on your back with your arms and legs down by your side. In this posture, we're using the floor as a prop or the floor as a tool. Really stretch out the back. Observe what parts of your body are touching the floor. Start to sink a little bit deeper into the ground beneath you. Inhale, widen your eyes. As you exhale, relax the shoulders, relax the abdomen. Let your hands and feet be heavy. We're going to go into collapsed bridge. Bend your knees so that your feet are on the floor, ankles under knees, feet about hip width distance, and just let your knees come together, and you might feel your lower back start to lower down to the floor. This is called collapsed bridge. And from here, again, if you'd like, you can move your knees right and left. Get a little bit of a twist to the lower back as you move the hips. You may or may not know this, but you can practice yoga from bed. There's like a whole style of yoga that's bed yoga. It's particularly good for people who are not able to get out of bed. It's often used when teaching yoga to prisoners, because that's like a safe space where you can kind of be by yourself. It's good for people in hospice. Or it's just good if you wake up in the morning and want to do yoga like first thing. So I'll often do this posture, this collapse bridge, and this kind of windshield wiping of the knees before I get out of bed. And just keep that in mind that your yoga practice doesn't need to be limited to like a 60-minute structured, yoga mat class. You can practice these postures on your bed. You can practice postures like sitting at your desk, right? You can just take a few minutes of your day and do a child's pose or something like that. You're going to come back to center, let your knees rest together, lower back flattens out, bring your chin in slightly towards your chest so that your neck lengthens as well. Here, you're going to rotate your shoulders so your palms face the floor. Lift your hips one at a time and bring your hands underneath your butt so thumbs might touch. Your knees are together. Open your knees so your knees and feet are hip width distance. Ankles under knees. So that was collapsed bridge. Now we're going to do bridge pose. Keep your head on the floor. Tuck your chin in slightly so your neck lengthens. Squeeze into your triceps and biceps. Press your shoulders down. Press your knuckles down, heels down. Squeeze your glutes and lift your hips up. So in this posture, we're strengthening the muscles that surround the hips, right? We're strengthening the glutes, the side seat, the core, the hamstrings. We're stretching the hip flexors. That's also just a gentle back bend, right? Squeeze your ribs together. So notice if you're fanning your ribs out, try to knit your ribs together. Keep your chin into your chest, head to the floor. Engage your glutes. Can you lift your hips up one more inch? Good, and slowly lower your hips down. Bring your knees back together, collapse, bridge, rotate your shoulders, palms face up. Take a breath. So I've found I'm passionate about classes that target lower back pain and hip pain because I really started like a serious yoga practice to get out of lower back pain and shoulder pain from 2 car accidents. And so I'm aware that these postures can be really powerful when practiced repetitively. And I'm also aware that, at least in my experience, to get out of pain, you're working on both mobility and strength. So that's why we want to do postures like the cobra pose where we're strengthening our back, or like the bridge pose where we're strengthening our glutes, as well as the more passive stretches. And as a reminder, you don't need to do like an intense vinyasa workout or purely a yin class to get those benefits, right? You just do a little stretching, a little strengthening. maybe a little balance, and everything starts to even out. Keep your left foot on the floor, lift your right foot off the floor, cross your right ankle over your left thigh for supine figure 4. From here, you're going to lift your left foot off the floor, hugging your thighs in towards your abdomen. You can keep your hands on the floor. You can grab the outsides of your legs. You can also take your right hand in between your legs and interlace your fingers behind your left thigh. Keep your 2 shoulders, 2 hips on the floor, head on the floor, chin in slightly to lengthen the neck spine. I love this posture. It is a great hip opener. It's also really good for decompressing the lower back. For that reason, this posture is excellent for anyone who has sciatic nerve pain, sciatica. The sciatic nerve runs from the lower back all the way through the outer leg to the foot. It is the longest nerve in our body, and it's really thick. Your sciatic nerve is like as thick as your thumb, which is, I tend to think of nerves as being like small, and I love that we all have this like giant nerve in our body. Often, you know, I think when we think about stretching, we think about stretching muscles, right? Or opening joints. But in yoga, we are intentionally stretching nerves as well. So here we're decompressing the lower back where the sciatic nerve can sometimes get pinched. And we're also stretching through the side seat along the leg into the foot. Think about breathing into right hip. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. You have your grip on the back of your leg. Slowly return your left foot back to the floor. Grab a pillow, place it outside of your right knee, and you're going to roll your knees to the right. So the reason why you might want a pillow is depending on your mobility, your right knee might touch down, but for a lot of us, you want a pillow or pillows under the right knee. So your right ankle is still on top of your left thigh. You're bringing the inside of your left ankle towards the floor. It doesn't need to touch. And you're bringing the outside of your right knee, right thigh towards the floor. It doesn't need to touch. You can have your arms out to the side in a big expansive gesture or simply down by your side. So here it's an internal rotation to the left hip, stretching the left side seat. A lot of yoga postures focus on external rotation to the hips, which is really important, especially when we have tight hips, but the hips move 2 directions, right? You want to be internally rotating the hip as well, which is what we're doing here. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. With or without the use of your hands, you're going to roll your left hip back down, sole of left foot back on the floor. From here, lift your right ankle off of your left thigh. Turn your right knee out to the right so that ankle are in line. Take your right hand to right knee. Start to draw your right knee towards right shoulder. And then if you'd like, you can straighten your left leg towards the back of your mat. From here, if you'd like, you can interlace both fingers, both hands on your right shin. And you might rock your right hip back and forth a few times, like you're rocking a baby. Right. If you are rocking your hip out right and left, return to a still position. Draw your knee towards your armpit. your fingers are interlaced, uninterlace your fingers. Keep your left hand on your left shin or bring your left hand to your left shin if it's not there already. Take your right arm out to the right. You're going to roll to the left so that your right hip stacks on top of left hip. And have both arms out in a big expansive gesture. Can bend your elbows, cactusing them like goalposts. You can keep the back of your head on the floor, or you can look to your right, looking away from your top knee. Spine twists are also good for back health in general, right? There's some people, depending on what's happening in your body, doctors might recommend that you don't do certain postures. And again, if you're dealing with a serious back or hip injury, I always recommend seeing a doctor and physical therapist. But in general, spine twist back bends are really good for our back health, and a little bit goes a long way. So for some folks, like twisting deeply might feel good, but for other people, just getting like a millimeter into the spine twist might be a really good place to be. So please don't equate like depth of a yoga posture with like effectiveness of a yoga posture. A little bit can go a long way. We'll take 3 more breaths here. If you're looking over your right shoulder, gently bring the back of your head to the floor. With or without the use of your hands, you're going to roll your right hip down, bring your right foot back to the floor. You can straighten both legs back into your Savasana, arms down. If lying with your arms and legs straight does not feel good to your lower back, that is really common. You are welcome to place a small pillow or blanket underneath your lower back or under your knees. Or rather than taking a traditional Savasana with legs straight, you can do a collapsed bridge here with your feet on the floor and knees together. And then you're still lengthening through the spine, right? But there's not so much pressure on the lower back. Those are always options available to you. From here, you're going to bend your legs again if they're not already back into your collapsed bridge, knees together, feet on the floor. And again, you can move your knees right and left, rolling out the lower back, working the hips. Great. Come back into stillness, knees point up. Rotate your shoulders, palms face down. Bring your hands underneath your glutes, palms face down. Have your knees about hip width distance, ankles under knees, press your shoulders, back of the head and neck down, press your knuckles and heels down, squeeze your glutes and lift your hips up, back into our bridge pose. Strengthening the back of the body, healing the spine through gentle compression. Knit your ribs together rather than fanning them apart. Press your heels and shoulders down, chin slightly to chest. Can you lift your hips 1 more inch? Good. Slowly lower your hips back down. Keep your right foot on the floor. Lift your left foot off the floor across your left ankle over your right thigh. Supine figure 4. Rotate your shoulders, palms face up. Option to keep your right foot on the floor or lift your right foot off the floor. And again, you can keep hands on floor. You can grab the outsides of your legs, or you can interlace your fingers behind your right thigh. Let your feet relax. You might notice that this side feels different from the other side. It does for me. It's very common for one hip to be more tight than the other. And often when we come to a yoga practice, we're aware of that, right? That even might be why you're coming to yoga, whether it's from like an injury or a surgery or an illness, right? You might be aware that one side of your body or one area of your body is tight. Sometimes though, we come to yoga and we gain a lot of self-awareness, not just for one area of our body that's experiencing discomfort, but maybe for how interconnected the different parts of our body is, right? At first, we just know, okay, my knee hurts. But then as we start to to know our body better through a consistent yoga practice, then you might start to connect dots like my left knee hurts but my right hip kind of hurts as well. And maybe there's a connection there. Or, my shoulder hurts, what side of my body do I carry my purse, or do I look a certain way when I'm sitting at my desk at work? Do I tend to cock my head to one side, right? We just gain a little bit more bodily awareness, and then we might start to address the underlying causes of tightness in the body as well. You have a grip on the back of your leg. Slowly release that grip. Bring your right foot down to the floor. This time you're going to want a pillow for outside of your left side body, left knee, and take your arms out to the side. And this time roll to the left so that your right hip gently lifts off the floor. Draw your left knee down towards the floor. Again, a pillow underneath can be really useful. Draw the inside of your right ankle towards the floor. It might not touch, but the knees are definitely tilting to the left. So again, it's that internal rotation to the right hip. We stretch the right side seat. So yoga helps us address tightness in our body, or kind of maybe figure out where some of that pain is coming from. We don't know already. Yoga, for me at least, has also helped me make peace with the fact that pain is part of life. There's that saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I'll say that again, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So yoga helps us observe, what's going on in our body. Yoga helps us address any tightness or areas where we want to build strength or mobility. And I think yoga also helps us, or at least helps me, to accept the fact that there will always be days where I wake up with a stiff neck or a tight lower back, right? Yoga doesn't fix everything, but it does give me an option to manage pain and to make things a little bit more bearable, not just in my body, but in my mind and my spirit as well. With or without the use of your hands, you're going to roll your right hip back down, right foot to floor. From here, lift your left foot off of your right thigh. Bring your left foot to the left, so ankle and knee are in line. With one or both hands, grab your left shin, bring your knee towards your left shoulder, and then lengthen your right leg down towards the floor. And again, you can rock your left knee back and forth, rocking out that hip. If you're rocking your hip joint, bring it back to a neutral position, draw your knee towards your armpit. If your fingers are interlaced, uninterlaced fingers, take your right hand to left shin, left arm out to the left, roll to the right, so left hip stacks on top of the right hip. You can bring both arms out to the side. You can cactus them like goalposts. You can keep the back of your head on the floor, or you can look over your left shoulder, bringing your left ear down towards the floor. And again, this side might feel different, and that's okay. You're also welcome to place a pillow or blanket under your left knee or under any other area. Could use a little extra support. If you're looking over your left shoulder, bring the back of your head to the floor. With or without the use of your hands, return your left foot to the floor, arms and legs down, Savasana. And you're also welcome to take a collapsed bridge instead of Savasana if that feels better. Sometimes the release from a posture can be as intense as the asana itself. We tend to store tension in our hips and our shoulders and our chest. So especially when we do hip openers or back bends, can feel kind of intense when we're in it or when we come out of it. That can come up in purely physical ways, like just the sensation of a change in temperature in your hip, or maybe the feeling of something releasing in a foot. Or it can come out in more emotional ways, like a sudden urge to laugh or cry. It's going to be very subtle or it can be really intense. And it's simply your body releasing some stuff that's inside. So it might feel kind of odd when you're in it, but probably feel a little bit lighter after class. So just keep that in mind. Bend your knees if they're not already, feet on the floor. You're going to lift both feet off the floor. Keep your knees bent, flex your toes back for happy baby. You can grab the backs of your legs or knees. You can grab your ankles. You can also grab the outsides of your feet with your hands. And from here, we're going to rock right and left, rolling out the back. And as you roll to the right, you might straighten your right leg, stretching the inner thigh, come back to center, roll to the left, straighten your left leg, and the left knee, come back to center. Okay. And once you've rocked and rolled, come back to center again. Draw your shoulders and hips down, chin slightly to chest. Bring your knees towards the floor, not forcing the body. We'll hold here for 3 breaths. Relax through your pelvic floor. Soften through your abdomen. Release any tension in the chest and shoulders. With or without the use of your, release any grip you have on the backs of your legs or feet. With or without the use of your hands, bring your knees and feet back together, feet to the floor, arms down, option to stay in collapsed bridge or lower your legs back down into Savasana. And again, you might observe a shift in temperature, for example, in your hips. One of my favorite things about the nervous system is that it reminds me that our emotions are not separate from our body. So, you know, it's the nervous system, it's nerves, and it's literally feelings, right? Like I can feel my hip opening. So why would feeling my hip opening be any different from feeling sadness, right? Or feeling joy? Those are all experiences within our nervous system. They're not separate from each other. And yoga is this really special space where we start to see the connection between opening a physical part of our body and experiencing emotion that might be connected or living in our body. These are not separate things. They work in tandem together. Bend your knees if they're not already. You're going to roll off to one side, maybe give yourself a hug. Press yourself up. And our last posture is just going to be a super supported back bend. For this posture, you will want a few pillows. Many of you have probably practiced this before if you practiced with me. You're going to sit facing away from your pillows. The idea is you want 1 or 2 pillows for underneath your lower back, and then 1 or 2 pillows for underneath your head, so that your chest is the highest part of your body, but you don't want your head like falling all the way back because that would be a little too much on the neck. So you're going to bend your knees, feet on the floor, and then you're going to lay back like this. So again, 1 or 2 pillows under your middle lower back, and then 1 or 2 perhaps slightly smaller pillows for under your head. So your chest and ribs are lifted, but there's support for your neck and head. You're welcome to have your arms down by your side, out to the side, maybe hands on abdomen. You can keep your knees bent with feet on the floor, or you can straighten your legs. Or if you'd like one more hip opener, you can do a supine butterfly here, knees bent, feet on the floor, and then you let your knees drop out to the side. I've done a lot of hip work today personally, so I'm going to keep my legs straight. But if you want to go for it, go for it. And do a butterfly pose as well as a back bend here. And back bends are so crucial for back health and spinal mobility. And even on days where you can't do a full like hour-long yoga practice, which I know is like such a luxury. Like I truly believe we're the luckiest people in the world to get to practice yoga. It doesn't get much better than this, but you know, not everyone has time for that every day. I'm a full-time yoga teacher. I don't even have full time for it every day. So make sure if you can't do a full yoga practice, that you're still, even if it's just in your chair at work or just standing up for a minute, that you do a few back bends and spine twists every day. And again, that can even be on your bed in the morning. It can be helpful even to kind of like lie off of your bed in a back bend, or you could do this posture with your pillows on your back, right? Or do that collapsed bridge, whether it's in bed, whether it's just a few minutes of back bends and spine twists at your desk at work, or just maybe standing while you're cooking in the kitchen, waiting for water to boil. Make sure that you're doing some back bends and spine twists, right? Maybe not quite the same as a full mindfulness yoga luxurious experience, but still really good for your back. We're going to hold here for one more minute. Notice where you might be holding on to tension in your body. Start to relax a little deeper. This is a passive spine twist, passive opening to the front of the body. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. There are many ways to come out of this posture. Before you move, just listen to my suggestions. You're welcome to elbow yourself up or roll yourself off to one side. My personal preference, you're going to bend your knees if they're not already with feet on the floor. Pressing your feet into the floor, keep your head on your pillows, lift your hips back into your bridge, I know, and remove the pillows from under your lower back. And from here, you can lift your head and release pillows from under your head. Or if you'd like for final Savasana, you can keep a pillow or two under your head. You can place a pillow under your knees or under your lower back, right? Like a gentle pillow. And then we're going to release down into our final Savasana. This is built into our yoga practice today. Finding your way into a neutral body position. So this is called Savasana or corpse pose. It's one of the older yoga poses, and it's deceptively simple, right? It just kind of looks like you're lying down, but unlike perhaps like lying on your couch mindlessly, here we're lying still with intention. Let your head, feet, and head be heavy. Sometimes I like to think about like the millions of people who've practiced this posture for like 10,000 years, which is kind of mind-blowing. And there's like depictions of people practicing this yoga that are really old, like hundreds of years old, right, in yogic texts. And interestingly, this is also, if you ever study anatomy, this is what's called the anatomical position. If you look in an anatomy textbook, this is how they show the body. And I don't think that's a coincidence, right? That in both kind of like Eastern and Western medicine, there's this idea that when we're in a neutral position like this, it's easier to understand the body. And so not that we're in a medical setting or an anatomical textbook here, but you might take a moment just to scan your body for any lingering tension. And just start to relax a little deeper. And sometimes I'll notice, for example, that there's a knot in my shoulder, and No matter how much I tell my shoulder relax, no matter how much I send a breath there, there's still that knot, and that's okay too. It might be helpful just to imagine what it would feel like or what it will feel like when that part of the body does release. Practicing yoga is a discipline, it's a skill. It takes time and commitment. It also takes a lot of compassion and patience as well as determination. The payoff of not just understanding your body, but soothing your mind and your spirit, that payoff to me is like absolutely priceless. And again, I think we're just the luckiest people in the world to get to practice this year. So good for you for practicing yoga today. This is a gift that you've given yourself, and it's the choice that you made for yourself that nobody can take away from you. Inhale, feel your body rise. Anything you want to let go of, exhale, let it go. You are so very alive and you are so very loved. Stay in final Savasana for as long as you'd like. When you do want to get up, I encourage you to get up slowly and mindfully. Sit up for a while before you stand up, especially if you have low blood pressure. We've been on the floor for a while. Make sure that you're drinking lots of water and enjoy the rest of your evening. Hope to practice with you soon, friends.